With a tense and uneasy atmosphere setting in, the Shaolin monk, John, looks on with a worried expression. He states that the Dark Lord of Destruction and the 3 demonic families were supposed to have been annihilated, questioning how they are now facing unknown masters. A bead of sweat rolls down his face as he remarks on the immense pressure he can feel coming from all directions. Another master wonders where their lord found such powerful people to serve as his subordinates. As they stand gathered, Okan, the leader of Manhwa, arrives with her group. She greets Master John and family head Tang. John formally welcomes them. Representatives from the Manhwa sect and the Zhongnan sect arrive. One of the newly arrived representatives commented that they never expected Yan Zhonghuk to be the one to make the first move. Jawun stated that unless it is Yan Zhonghuk himself, nothing has changed. He added with some confidence that if they are only facing his subordinates, they can handle them by joining forces. He then turned his gaze toward a grim-faced elder, Pekun, and asked if he had recovered. Pekun looked back at him and responded, "Yes, I apologize for causing concern." Suddenly, a voice resonated through the area. A voice cuts through the air, thanking everyone for gathering. The assembled masters are startled, looking around in confusion. Jawun's eyes widen as he recognizes the technique as the 6-direction sound transmission, immediately wondering if it is the Alliance leader. Tenji, however, recognizes the voice instantly, her thoughts echoing her son's name, Tang Yan Myeong, who is nearby. Yan Myeong and his disciples also search for the source of the voice. The voice continues, stating that the situation is urgent and he will explain briefly. He confirms that they must have noticed unidentified masters approaching the Righteous Alliance from multiple directions. He then delivers a chilling piece of information: they are not living humans. The scene reveals what he means: mummy-like figures with glowing red eyes, their bodies wrapped in bandages. Yan Myeong explains that these beings are likely summoned using the same soul-gathering technique that the demon sect leader recently used to create Jiangxie and Shenjiang. He states his suspicion that the Dark Lord of Destruction, Yan Zhonghuk, is the one who summoned them. The faces of the listening masters contort with shock and apprehension. Yan Yong's voice adds one final, ominous warning. He tells them that beyond these Jiangxi in the far distance, there is something else. From a remote location, Yan Yong himself looks intently toward the horizon. His voice continues, explaining that he can sense an incomparable presence approaching. Standing alone on a rooftop against a backdrop of stormy, lightning-filled skies, he concludes that it must be the Dark Lord of Destruction himself. Hearing this revelation, Okan clenches her fist, her face hardening with resolve as she mutters the name, Yan Zhonghuk. Yan Yong continues his strategic briefing from afar, clarifying the threat they face. He states that if this is the same Jiangxi technique he witnessed in Xinjiang, then the reanimated corpses preserve almost all of their martial arts and strength from when they were alive. He then lays out the plan. He will advance toward the Dark Lord of Destruction, accompanied by the newly joined members of the Righteous Alliance. He instructs the rest of the gathered masters to assist the Alliance members fighting in all directions to stop the Jiangxi. With a look of intense determination, his briefing concludes. Yan Yong's voice echoes a final command, declaring that this battle will end the war with the demonic path. He urges them all to show their true strength. Following Yan Yong's instructions, the main forces of the various sects split into groups and move out to intercept the forces of the demonic path. As they travel, Okan remarks to her disciple, Shanghyun, that the existence of such evil is honestly hard for her to believe. She acknowledges that while they are dealing with a demonic path faction capable of such things, the reality is still difficult to accept. Shanghyun agrees, a look of disgust on his face as he adds that having no respect for the dead is a truly vicious act. Okan explains that this is precisely why they're called the demon sect and why the martial arts world has rejected them since ancient times. Suddenly, her expression shifts to one of wide-eyed alarm. Seeing his master's sudden change, Changhyun calls out to her in confusion. Without a word of explanation, Okan abruptly changes course and leaps away at high speed, leaving a bewildered Changhyun calling after her, "Where are you going, master?" On a blood-soaked battlefield, a member of the Righteous Alliance lies on the ground, staring up in shock at the carnage. He recognizes the swordsmanship that defeated his comrade. Nearby, another warrior kneels in terror before one of the bandaged Jiangxi. His voice trembling as he asks, "Why? Why is someone like you attacking us?" The Jiangxi gives no reply. With cold, mechanical efficiency, it raises its blade, moving across the field with deadly speed and precision. Okan has arrived. A survivor calls out her name in relief. However, Okan is frozen in place, her gaze fixed on the Jiangxi. She stammers, "No, it can't be. You are not who I think you are, right?" A tear wells in her eye as she realizes the cruel truth. cursing Yanzhong, yuck for his sick game. Internally, Voken recalls the ominous premonition she felt when the alliance leader first warned them about the Jiangxi. She had desperately hoped her fears wouldn't be true. As the pieces fall into place, she stares at the undead master before her. Her thoughts screaming the question, "Why are you here?" The face of the Jiangxi is revealed, its bandages tearing away to show the familiar features of Hack, but with glowing, malevolent red eyes. Her mind cries out his name in despair. Agum. The immense, dark aura radiating from the reanimated master bears down on the battlefield. The surviving warrior suddenly finds himself pinned to the ground by an overwhelming pressure, groaning that he can't move. Paralyzed by the terrifying force, he can only watch in horror as a blade descends to strike him down. The warrior's desperate plea, "Please save me," is cut short by the swift, merciless strike of the Jiangxi's blade. Just then, Zhou Wen and Tang Ji arrive on the scene, their expressions turning to shock and disbelief at the overwhelming power they feel. Zhou Wen asks, "Are we seeing things?" Tang Ji, her face grim, confirms the terrifying reality, stating, "This tremendous pressure. There is no doubt." Zhou Wen's eyes widen with dawning horror as he stares at the approaching Jiangxi, which wields a distinctively heavy sword. He realizes there is only one person in the world known for using such a weapon. In a voice trembling with fear, he says, "Don't tell me they." The name and title of the legendary figure flash through his mind, Sword King Nam Gangjiang, and before them stood the reanimated corpse of one of history's greatest swordsmen, now an undead puppet enveloped in a swirling, dark blue aura. The orchestrator of this nightmare, Yan Zhonghuk, observes the battlefield with a cold, confident smile. He muses to himself that the battle must be in full swing by now, and he can clearly imagine the panic and confusion of his enemies. He then reveals a crucial detail about his power, stating, "This is how the Supreme Demon Soul Restoration technique is truly used." With a chilling smile, Yan Zhonghuk elaborates on the true nature of his power. He clarifies that it is not simply about reanimating strong warriors from the dead. The true, cruel purpose, he reveals, is to force his enemies to point their swords at the very people they once loved and respected, their family and comrades. He coldly questions how long his foes, who are swayed by mere emotions, can possibly withstand such a trial. Turning his back, he walks away with one last thought, hoping they struggle with all their might, just so his own excitement doesn't fade. Meanwhile, Yan Yong leads the Jun Chan sect members forward. He addresses the group, apologizing for the lack of an explanation due to the sudden emergency. He informs them that they are now heading directly toward the source of the strongest energy. Looking back at his followers, he offers them a choice. "If you are afraid, you can retreat now. What do you say?" In response to Yan Yong's offer, Eliop of the Jun Chang sect speaks up with conviction. "How could we? Rather, isn't this an opportunity to prove our worth?" Yan Yong acknowledges his words. With a slight smile, Eliop adds, "We are grateful for the alliance leader's consideration." Yan Yong adds, "I like your resolve. Then let's speed up our lightness technique." His words are cut short as his senses flare. An immense, glowing slash of energy hurtles toward them from a distance. Reacting in an instant, Yan Yong draws his blade and unleashes a powerful counterattack, a brilliant wave of turquoise energy that meets the incoming strike head-on. A deafening impact resounded as two forces collided, creating a massive shockwave that tore through the air and the ground. The sheer force of the explosion sent the members of the Jian Chang sect flying backward. However, Tang Yong stood his ground, having successfully neutralized the threat. As the dust settled, he stared in the direction from which the attack had originated, his mind focused on the incredible power he had just confronted. Internally, Tang Yong analyzed the encounter with sharp focus. He acknowledged that if it weren't for his current flow eyes, he would have been utterly unable to even perceive the attack. He noted with concern that despite the opponent being in Jiangxi, he was unable to read any intent behind the strike, a testament to the user's immense skill. The bandaged figure stood its ground, exuding a powerful aura. Tang Yong concluded without a doubt that this was a powerful master. His attention was drawn to the weapon, a slender, unusual sword. He noticed the title engraved on the blade, and read the inscription aloud, "Swift Sword." The name struck a chord, and he paused, trying to place it. It was Eliop, however, who connected the final pieces. With dawning horror, he exclaimed that there was no mistake. He identified the sword technique they had just witnessed as the righteous martial art, the four-season sword technique. The revelation sent a shockwave through Eliop. His face contorted in disbelief and grief as he thought, "Master, why?" His mind flashed back to a conversation with his master, who had told him that the movements of evil forces in Sichuan had become unusual, and that he needed to step in personally before something major happened. Liup's memory brought him back to a final conversation with his master, John. The memory showed his master instructing him to devote himself to training with the senior disciples until his return, placing the sect's future on his shoulders by saying, "You are the future of our righteous sect." Liup recalled that those were his master's last words before he vanished. In the present, tears streamed down Liup's face as he screamed his master's name in anguish. "Master John, why are you?" As Liup cried out, Tang Yan pieced everything together. He thought to himself, "I see. The disappearance of the righteous sect's divine sword was related to the Dark Lord of Destruction." Before he could process it further, the reanimated Master John lunged forward, unleashing another devastating attack. Tang Yan was immediately thrown on the defensive, his own blade moving in a blur to parry the lightning, fast strikes. As he weathered the storm of blows, his mind raced. He noted that once again, only the flow perceived by his current flow eyes allowed him to even read the attack. He was completely unable to sense any intent at the moment of the thrust, a sign of supreme mastery. The technique itself was identified in his mind as the inverted sword riverer, as he parried the masterful sword blade. Tang Yan's mind worked furiously, analyzing the technique. Is this the essence of the four-season sword technique? He wondered. Instead of showing fear or hesitation in the face of such legendary power, a confident smirk spread across Tang Yan's face. "This is getting interesting," he said aloud, his eyes gleaming with excitement. He settled into a ready stance, his blade held back as a brilliant aura enveloped him. With a challenging gaze, he extended an open hand toward the reanimated master. "Shall I learn a move or two?" he asked, turning a deadly confrontation into an opportunity.